4th hour. Today, we're going to finish the first 100 days. Okay? Starting with the WPA. Now, guys, you don't need to write down the bottom of this. This is just kind of an infographic that talks about this. Okay, so you have to write down the bottom if you're taking notes. So, you guys know what these words mean. Public works. Government what? Government.
Like building bridges and roads.
Jobs. Yeah, building stuff. Now, you guys know all the construction we got going on in Wichita, right? That's like public works, yes? No, it's not. Where the government hires a contractor to build the road or the bridge. Here, the government is the employer. And in charge of the Public Works Administration is Harold Ickes, the Secretary of Interior. Yes? Now, Hoover did this. Remember they built some dams like Boulder Dam, which became known as Hoover Dam? Okay? Now, Hoover spent $2 billion. Roosevelt's going to spend $3 billion. What are they going to build? All kinds of stuff. Huh? Sewers. Hey, sewer systems are kind of a good thing. You know what I mean? Like you flush the toilet and it goes away. Yeah. Better than an outhouse. You know what I mean? Or a porta potty. Yeah, better than that. Sewer systems. Okay? Tunnels, schools, post office, hospitals, even aircraft carriers. Public Works Administration is going to build 2 aircraft carriers. Both of those, the Yorktown and the Enterprise, will be very important during World War II. One of them, Cash, will survive the war, one will not. Which one gets sunk? Yorktown or the Enterprise? You don't know your World War II history yet? Yorktown will be sunk at the Battle of Midway. Okay. So, guys, that's really simple. Public Works Administration is really simple. Okay, run by Yankees, $3 billion building stuff. Okay, all kinds of stuff. Now, the next thing, guys, is the Federal Emergency Relief Act. Remember how we talked about Hoover? Hoover said, I'm not going to give you something for nothing. I'll loan you money. You need help, but I'm not going to give you something for nothing. You with me? Okay. So, this is referred to today as welfare. Back then, they called it the Dole. Now, some people still use that term. You're on the dole. You're on the take. You get money from the government. Okay. So, this is the first time this ever happens. $500 million. Okay. You know how many millions of Americans are on food stamps today? Take a guess. There's 330 million Americans. How many are on food stamps? 70 million? Less than yours, more than his. 48. 48 million Americans. Now, $500 million is going to cover that? No. Okay. Now, enemies of this, you know, the dole is kind of a negative term. Okay. And some people use this. I don't know if you guys still use this phrase. You know, that kid, he's a charity case. You know, like he needs help doing everything.
My mom's used that.
Yeah, don't be a charity case, right? Now, guys, this is a new way of thinking in America. New Dealers said that every citizen was what? Entitled to help from the government. Entitled. this is how I feel about the east side of Wichita. Okay? I live on the east side. And I'm a coach. So I coach against east side teams. And you know, those people over there just seem to be entitled. Like they deserve something. You know what I mean? A bunch of entitled brats. You know, like those Caitlin fans. Suck. When we scored that goal, I was like, I like this. Hopefully we'll have the same feeling Friday night. All right. So, you ever hear somebody say, yeah, you deserve something? Deserve something? I hate that word. Deserve. No. You earn something. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve anything. I mean, maybe, you know, respect. But you kind of got to earn that too, right? So like if you're talking in my class all the time when I'm talking, you might get deserved to be yelled at or belittled or get some dark sarcasm thrown your way. Okay? These words are weak. Okay? You earn what you get. You earn what you get. Okay? Now that's the coach in me coming out. Okay? But this entitlement stuff is dangerous. Okay? I think it's dangerous. It's dangerous for the human soul. Okay? All right. So, Harry Hopkins is going to be in charge of this. Now, guys, welfare in this country is going to blossom through the 30s, 40s, 50s. In the 60s, it really starts to grow. 70s and 80s, it gets bad. Okay? And you have generations of families growing up dependent on the government. In the 90s, we're going to try and fix it. Okay? And I'll talk more about that in government class. But, you know, this really does. You do have a lot of people in this country that feel entitled to help from the government. Now, just a note on the Constitution again. Okay, guys. Nowhere in this document does it say the government's role is to take care of the people. The reason we wrote a Constitution was to protect us, the people, from government. So what the Constitution does is it places limits on what government can do. Okay? So that it doesn't become tyrannical and control every aspect of our life. That's why we have a Constitution. Not for the government to take care of you. Now, as a society, sometimes we pass laws like this to help people that fall on hard times. And as Catholics, you know, you believe in social justice, and you're like, okay, there needs to be a safety net for people when they fall on hard times. But how big is that safety net, and are you actually entitled to that? Or is it something that we've chosen to give you because you fall on hard times? Okay? It becomes entitlement that you expect it when you shouldn't. Okay? That lesson's over. Good? So that's WPA, excuse me, PWA, now WPA, and by the way, guys, the first 100 days is over. Everything that we did to this point was in the first 100 days. So yesterday when I talked about action, we got a lot of action. Okay? So moving forward to the WPA. It's similar to Public Works, but it's got a different flavor to it. This is going to be headed up by Hopkins. Now, this is going to spend a lot of money. $11 billion over 8 years to employ 8.5 million people. Some of these will be construction jobs, like Public Works. But some of it has more of an entertainment flavor to it. So writers, actors, musicians, artists. Some people aren't really cut out for construction work. So, Sunday night, my son and a friend and his wife drove down to Oklahoma City for a concert Sunday night. And they went to see this band called the Suicide Boys. Now, how many of you guys know who that is? Okay. Because prior to this weekend, I didn't know who that was. It's not really my jive, you know what I mean? How many of you guys like the Suicide Boys? You like that? You like that music? Okay. So my son showed me some videos from the show. Now, he wasn't in the pit, but the first time he saw me, he was in the pit. But this time, they didn't do the pit. You guys know what I'm talking about, the pit? Yeah. Yeah. So, like, it's all directed by the band. Like, they say, all right, line up. Now, he said, you know, if anybody goes down, because, you know, you can get trampled in that kind of situation. I mean, Jack said that, like, the guy was, like, serious. He's like, listen, if somebody goes down, you pick them up so they don't get hurt. Because didn't, like, a bunch of people get trampled? Yeah, yeah. So I think that's pretty good that, the artist did that. You know what I mean? But my son had to buy a ticket. And over 10,000 people bought a ticket for that show. Okay? Under this, what's going to happen is, because people can't afford concert tickets, the government is going to build an arena for entertainment purposes, and then the government's going to pay the artists to put on a concert, and the government will pay the artist, and the people get to go for free. Now, Suicide Boys is going to make more money off of selling 10,000 plus tickets, or what the government's going to pay them to put on a free show. Yeah, it's called capitalism. Okay, this is socialism. Okay, yesterday I talked about fascism. This is a very good example of socialism. Okay, now, so people that we don't want them to get their hands dirty could prepare guidebooks. These are, artists and writers, decorate buildings, write plays, perform concerts, this sort of stuff. Okay? So that they can do what they do best. And we all benefit from it through this socialism. Okay? Now, Wichita, in the early 30s, they built a baseball stadium in downtown Wichita. It's not Riverfront Stadium where the football game is Friday night. What was the name of the stadium that was there before it was Riverfront? Do you remember the name of the stadium? See, I knew it would go fast. I knew it would go fast. Like, people would forget. Well, the Wingnuts played there. What was the name of the stadium? Lawrence Dumont Stadium. Remember this? Didn't your parents ever take you down to the NBC tournament in the summertime? They used to do baseball around the clock and that kind of stuff down there during the NBC tournament. Okay. Well, it was built in the 30s by the Works Progress Administration. Let me show you a picture. Just put these in my notes this morning. Okay, this is Lawrence Dumont Stadium shortly after it was built. Okay, they didn't have sprinkler systems either. So you can see the grass is a little rough. And this was the stadium. And they kind of redid it. They refurbished it a few times. And then finally they said, all right, we're going to tear it down and build a brand new stadium. Okay, after 80 years, 90 years. Okay. Now, this picture's from the 20s. This is the Arkansas River, and there's a baseball stadium on an island, along with an amusement park called Ocker Island. Did you guys know about this?
This is where?
This is in the middle of the Arkansas River, downtown Wichita. There was an island with a roller coaster and ballpark. You know about that?
Yeah.
Where, really?
Yeah.
How did that come up?
I don't know how it came up, but there was one girl who kind of brought up an island that used to. Oh,
Well,
yeah, we were talking about downtown.
Okay. Because they could have been in my class earlier in the day when I talked about it.
No, she doesn't have your
Okay.
class.
Yeah. That's interesting. Small world. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, you guys probably heard of Joyland. Okay. And some of your parents might have enjoyed that. It was closed, I think, when I moved here. I don't know. I moved here in 95. I don't know when it closed for good, but the roller coaster by then, I think, had become dangerous. So I don't think they were running that. Not that I like to get on roller coasters or anything. Okay. But this is kind of a cool story. And guys, Wichita, I moved here in 95, like I said, and I'm a baseball guy. And I had heard Wichita had like this kind of cool history with baseball and the connection to baseball. And I wasn't wrong. This tournament, when they built Lawrence Dumont originally, this guy named Hap Dumont started this baseball tournament called the NBC World Series. And every summer, they would bring teams in from all over the country to play in this tournament. Some of the greatest names in the history of baseball played in this tournament in Wichita, Kansas. I don't know if you've heard names like Satchel Paige, who was a Negro League pitcher. Okay, maybe one of the best pitchers of all time. You guys know in history last year, did your teacher show you any of the Ken Burns Civil War documentary? Okay, it's just called The Civil War, and it's like, I don't know, 9 episodes or something like that. Ken Burns did one on the history of jazz, the history of the Civil War. He did one on World War II. He did one on Vietnam, and he did one on the history of baseball. Okay, and it's a great series. He's a great documentary filmmaker, and he's a national treasure. Ken Burns. I mean, the stuff he has done for history to preserve history is amazing. Okay, but in this, they interview this black gentleman who was in the car with Satchel Paige on the way to the tournament in Wichita. They didn't call it the NBC. They said the tournament in Wichita. It's kind of cool to see. And then he talked about how Satchel Paige got pulled over by the Wichita Police Department because he liked to drive fast. He threw fast too, but he liked to drive fast. He just tells this wonderful story about Satchel Paige. But I don't know if you've heard of Barry Bonds. He's the all-time home run leader in the history of Major League Baseball. He hit more home runs than Babe Ruth or Hank Aaron. Okay, Aaron Judge, who plays for the Yankees. Okay, right now, he played in this tournament. Guys, Hall of Famers left and right. There's about 30 guys in Major League Baseball right now that played in this tournament in Wichita. Okay, so it's kind of an American tradition or a Wichita tradition that is over 80 years old. This tournament that we host every summer. Okay, I've had the pleasure of coaching in it, and I played in it a couple of times. So when I moved here when I was 29, I was still playing baseball, and they had a men's league. And so I got on this team, and we won our league. We got a bid to the National Baseball Congress tournament. Okay, now we were old guys playing against young guys. We got our asses kicked. But I did good. I had a couple hits in the NBC tournament, and then I got to coach it. I got to coach my son in it, and he did really good in it. So it's kind of now when they built Riverfront, where we're going to be Friday night if you go to the game, they didn't include the NBC World Series in that. So last year it was played at Wichita State, and the year before at Hutch and Wichita State. I would really like to see this tournament get back downtown because it's such a Wichita tradition. It's 88 years, guys. Downtown baseball in the summer, this college tournament, college-age players, sometimes some old guys thrown in there, some young guys thrown in there, like Shane and Austin. Their team qualified for it. They got to play in it. They got their butts kicked because they're young guys playing against older guys. But I'd like to see it come back. But baseball is part of American history, okay? And so from time to time, I'll bring it up. We did that with the first pitch, with the presidents throwing it out, and so forth. And by the way, today at 2:00, the first playoff game of the season. There are 4 games tonight, wild card games. So 3-game series, 8 teams, and the 4 winners of those series will go on to play the division winners in the next round of the playoffs. Okay, so my team was horrible, 3rd worst record in major leagues, White Sox. So I don't know who I'm going to pull for, but once I start watching, I'll pull it. I know who I'm pulling against. And that's the Astros. I hate the Astros and I hate the Dodgers. Anybody but those 2 teams, I'll be okay. Houston, they had that cheating scandal. You know about the cheating scandal? So they have cameras. Like if you watch baseball on TV, they show a camera, and the catchers get in their squat, and then they'll put down signs, okay, like what pitch they want to throw. So in the dugout, the Astros had a camera in their dugout showing the catcher's signs. And there's these big rubber trash cans, not the small one, but you can get the same feel for it, okay? And when there was a curveball coming, they'd hit the trash can twice in the dugout. Now, there's fans screaming and stuff, but you can hear that. You can hear that. So they were tipping their batters to let them know what pitch was coming. Well, they won the World Series. They were cheating. Now, some people say in baseball, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Okay, now, stealing signs is one thing, but using center field camera to do it, that's cheating. Okay, and so for that reason, a lot of people hate the Astros. My wife included. She's like, I hate the Astros. Hate them. Especially there's one guy on the team. She just said, I can't stand that guy.
Who is it?
Lance Berkman, who played at LSU where she got her master's degree. She should like. He's really good. Huh? Yeah. We have. So my wife had no idea what she was marrying when she married me. Like my family, it's like baseball is a huge part of who we are. So like my daughter was a manager for me. She went off to college to play volleyball. She's a manager for the baseball team. After the college, she's like, I can't. I got to be in the dugout in the spring. I can't not be in the dugout. So, yeah. I'll come home and my daughter's watching baseball on TV. Who does that? Some lucky guy's going to get to marry her. I hope he's a baseball fan.
The Astros in trouble.
The manager got fired. The general manager got fired, but the players did not get in trouble. Now, the manager that got fired is now the manager of the Detroit Tigers. I don't know about the general manager, but A.J. Hinch, who played in the NBC. No. Do you guys know the Chad family? The Chads, C-H-A-D-D. No knowing the Chads? Well, they had several kids go through here, 2 brothers. One of them who went here has been the assistant general manager with the Tigers. He was scouting director for the Tigers for a long time. You know the Rosenhammers? You know Rosenhammers that came through here? Guy that played for me, played football and baseball here. He's the head trainer of the Detroit Tigers. He got that hookup from David Chad. David Chad is the assistant general manager. Okay. And if you look on our website, on the baseball website, I have like players that were drafted Major League Baseball, several of them were drafted by the Detroit Tigers because David Chad, who went to school here, and he knew the kids, so he drafted him. One of those was Blake Bell. I don't know if you guys knew that. Blake Bell was drafted by Major League Baseball his senior year. Now, he only played baseball through his sophomore year, and then he focused on football. But he would have helped us if he stayed out for baseball.
You got drafted in the MLB.
Yeah. No, he didn't go.
Even though he didn't play?
It's like Mahomes got drafted in the draft.
Like, he didn't even play the last 2 years of
No.
his high school. They still drafted him?
Yeah.
So he was like that good?
No, no, he wasn't that good. It was a friend of a friend, pick. They used to have 50 rounds in the Major League draft, which was awesome because you would give guys opportunities in the 50th round, and occasionally they make it. Like one of the greatest catchers of all time is a guy named Mike Piazza, who was drafted like in one of the last rounds. And he made it all. He's a Hall of Famer. Now they only do 25 rounds. Okay, so the wind surge downtown that we have is a double A, it's a double A team. They've shrunk the number of minor league teams. They used to have a lot more, and so there's fewer professional baseball players. The Wingnuts was an independent team, so they weren't affiliated with a major league team. The Wind Surge is an affiliate of the Minnesota Twins, the Twinkies, as I like to call them, the Twins. Okay. We used to have the Wichita Wranglers. You were maybe this big. Okay. The Wranglers were an affiliate of the Royals, which was nice because if you were a Royals fan, you could watch those young stars as they work their way to the major leagues and watch them play and then go watch them play with the Royals, which was kind of cool. Guys like Johnny Damon, Mike Moustakas, Hosmer, those guys all played in Wichita before they won the World Series with the Royals. You know any of those names?
Yeah.
Moose? Yeah. He played in Wichita. Yeah. I love Hosmer. He had a great haircut.
Where is he playing at?
He was with the Padres, and then I'm not sure if I don't know where he's at. But I really liked watching those guys.
What's that one dude that played like
Herman Cain? Not Herman Cain.
Alex?
Gordon left.
Yeah.
Alex Gordon played left.
Lorenzo Cain.
Lorenzo Cain. Those dudes could play, man. I don't like the Royals, but I got caught up in it. Because those guys played the game the right way, man. They played the game. That's a small market team. The Royals, Kansas City's a small market. They don't have a lot of money. So for them to win the World Series, you got to have a great organization. And all the clocks got to strike at the same time because you may have some high-priced talent, but you can't hold on to those guys for very long. So you got to bring along your young guys. You got to develop those guys. They all got to get good at the same time, and then you get a little bit of high-priced talent to go along with it, and you got a chance. So like teams like Minnesota Twins, the Royals, the Oakland A's, if they ever win the World Series, they have a really good organization because they don't have a lot of money. The Yankees, they have an unlimited amount of money. Red Sox, Cubs, they have huge payroll. The Mets this year had the highest payroll in baseball, and they finished 4th in their division. Huge disappointment. See, that's the great thing. Let's talk about capitalism. Baseball is capitalism. Yankees can buy all the talent they want, finish 4th in their division this year. Look, in the NFL, they use socialism. They use what's called revenue sharing. So the big market teams have to share revenue with the small market teams like Green Bay. Green Bay, Wisconsin. That's a city. You understand? It's a small town. And they have a professional football team. So they get money from the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, the Saints, like these big market teams. Okay? And that's socialism, where they share. Okay? Major League Baseball is capitalism. And if you're good at your job, you can win. Now, I don't know if anybody's going to beat the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are
legit.
They're still on a roll since the last time you talked to them?
Yeah, they had the best record in baseball. So they get a bye, they don't have to play until the wild card is done, and then we move on.
Where's their payroll at?
It's pretty high. So the wild card is like, you didn't win your division, but you had a good record.
You were mid.
You made the playoffs. Yeah. So let's see, that's 4 games, 8 plus 4, 12 teams made the playoffs. Out of 28 or 30. I'm looking for the Marlins. Marlins got a guy, you guys know Life Prep Academy here in Wichita? Life Prep. Jazz Chisholm is from the Bahamas. He played at Life Prep here in Wichita. Now he plays center field for the Marlins. And then my White Sox traded my favorite player to the Marlins, Jake frickin' Berger. Okay, his name's Jake Berger. Okay. He's a bad body, bald-headed, he doesn't look like a great athlete kind of guy, bad body. No. But I like watching the guy play. He's an underdog. Tore his Achilles twice. Mm-hmm.
What's his position?
He plays third.
Was it same Achilles both times or?
Different Achilles. Crazy, man. But he's made it. He hit like 28 home runs this year, and he was playing for the White Sox. He's a hustle guy, works his butt off. I'm like, dude, I turn on the White Sox. They're horrible to watch Jake Berger play. And they freaking trade him. So I'm pulling for the Marlins. But they're playing the Phillies. And I really like that dude from the Phillies. Who's that dude? The left-handed hitter. Bryce Harper. I like watching that guy play. And the Philly fans are freaking nuts. That place is going to rock. You guys need to turn that game on. It's at 9 or 7 o'clock tonight. The place is going to rock. Okay. Good here? All right. All right. Notes. Then we get out 45? Okay. Guys, we know the Supreme Court has been striking down parts of the New Deal left and right. Yes? Now that's the court. But Republicans don't like what Roosevelt's doing because they think it's socialism. And socialism is close to communism. So they're like, hey, we don't need this communist stuff in our country. So he's going to get hit from the right by Republicans, from the left from Democrats. People further to the left of Roosevelt. So Roosevelt's getting hit by all sides and the Supreme Court. Now these Republicans are like, hey, what Roosevelt is doing is radical. They formed this American Liberty League. And their goal is to combat radicalism, preserve property rights, and uphold the Constitution. So they're going to be hitting at Roosevelt. Now, I started doing a little research on this American Liberty League a few years ago. Like, what's this all about? So I looked it up. Well, they weren't around very long because there were a couple people in this American Liberty League that were arrested for plotting to assassinate Roosevelt. So anybody that was in the American Liberty League was kind of associated with that assassination plot. And it just kind of like dispersed. Okay. Now, from the left, there's going to be 3 guys that I'm going to focus on. Any of y'all ever heard of Huey Long? Ever heard this name, Huey Long? He's pretty famous. Okay, that's him on the left. We'll talk about the radio priest, Father Coughlin, has a huge radio following, and Dr. Francis Townsend, who is a advocate for the elderly. But let's focus on Huey Long because he's fun. Okay? Huey Long didn't think Roosevelt was going far enough in helping the poor, helping the disaffected from the Depression. All of these men didn't think Roosevelt was doing enough. Okay? These people think he's doing too much. You with me? Huey Long was the governor of Louisiana. Any of you guys been to Nolens? Been to Nolens? When did you go? Been twice. When was the last time? You go like for a bowl game or something like that? Was it right after Mardi Gras?
Yeah, I went the time before I went there.
You went during. Your parents are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If your parents take their kids to Mardi Gras, they're crazy. Okay. Guys, Mardi Gras, New Orleans, Bourbon Street, crazy. Now, if you go just during regular time, like you go this weekend to Nolens, it's like going to another country in your own country. Louisiana was settled by what people? By the French, right? Yeah, so you got a lot of Catholics down there. And you have this strange mix of Southern culture, French culture, and what is known as Cajun culture, or rolled together Creole. Okay? And I lived in Baton Rouge, for about 6 months before I moved to Wichita. And the people that live down in the bayou, way down south in the bayou, these people speak English, but you can't understand them. It's kind of like going to Scotland. You know, in Scotland, they speak English. But like, what are you saying? I can't understand you. I worked at a print shop, and there was this lady that worked right next to me. We both sat at computers, did the same job. I swear to God, I couldn't understand what this woman was saying. We call them, now this is a term of endearment, okay? This isn't a slur. We call them coonasses. You know, they're from the bayou, coonass, okay? And they're Cajun folk. And now, the food down there is incredible. Any of you guys ever had seafood gumbo? Seafood gumbo? You've had it? You've never had gumbo? You've had gumbo? You like it? Now you can keep the okra. I don't really need that in my gumbo. That slimy green. Bleh. I don't put okra in my gumbo. I know it's not gumbo without okra, but I don't do it because it's nasty. Now, fried okra? You guys like fried okra? You ever had that? You know who makes good fried okra in this city? Bricktown Brewery. Okay, I'll go in there and just order a basket of fried okra and a cold beer, and I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, fried okra, man, for sure. What about, you guys ever been to like a crawfish boil? Crawfish boil? Yeah, yeah. My daughter's graduation, we did a party. We had a crawfish. We flew up 200 pounds of live crawfish. 200. We had a lot of people. It was fun. You know, Mr. Rock was there. Mr. Skaggs was there. We had, you know, some of the faculty came. You know, ate crawfish. You ever had crawfish? You know what it is? You know what crawdad is? So you pull the tail off, right? And then you suck the brains out. Just get you the juices from it. You kind of squeeze the shell of the head. And then,
You actually do that?
oh yeah. And then you pull apart the tail, because that gets you the juices. The juices are all in there, because you're boiling it. Okay? Now you got to cook them live, right? Now, if you ever run across a crawfish with a tail that's straight, that means it was dead when you started cooking. So when you cook them when they're alive, they like, you know, hot. It curls up like lobster. Because that's the only healthy way to do it. You only eat crawfish in months that start with the letter R. So, May rolls around, June, July, August, you don't eat crawfish because the water's too warm and bacteria gets in there and you get sick. Same thing with raw oysters. How many guys have had raw oysters? Did you like it? Yeah. Yeah. Now, the reason why you put Tabasco on the raw oysters, you got to put Tabasco on because it helps kill the bacteria. You do not want to eat oysters and during a month without an R, because you can get sick and you can die actually from it. Okay, but I don't know if there's much better, guys. If you get a chance, you know, if you're down south. Now they do it different. Like I was in Seattle and I ordered some raw oysters, and they don't serve it with like cocktail sauce, hot sauce. They do it with like a vinegar thing, and it was kind of like, oh, this is not what I wanted. Okay, but get some good raw oysters, and cold beer. Put me on the beach.
Fried okra.
Sure. Or some fried shrimp. No, not popcorn.
No cash. No.
But Mike, stop saying that.
Bad boy.
No cash.
Okay, so this guy, Governor of Louisiana, he has a plan. He's got a share the wealth plan. Every man gonna be a king. Every man gonna have a house. Every man ain't gonna have a car. Every man gonna have a radio and all the stuff that goes into that house. Every man's gonna be a king. We're gonna share the wealth. They called him the kingfish. Now, Huey Long is going to challenge Roosevelt in 1936 for the Democratic nomination for president. So this would be like another Democrat running against Joe Biden. Roosevelt called Huey Long the most dangerous man in America. Okay? This was straight up socialism and maybe even edged on the C word. Communism. Okay? And he had a big following. He wasn't just popular in Louisiana, he was popular in Indiana. He was popular with farmers, popular in the Midwest. Okay? You can go to Baton Rouge today, to the state capitol, and see the bullet holes in the side of the capitol, the bullets that missed Huey Long. There were other bullets that connected. This man was assassinated on the steps of the state capitol before he could run against Roosevelt. Okay? You'll see bridges, community centers, all kinds of stuff named after Huey Long. I was in Dole City, Oklahoma. They got a community center there called Huey Long Community Center. What's that? Yeah.
Do you think he would have beaten Roosevelt?
I don't think so. Probably a little bit too radical. But when you talk about, when you're playing Santa Claus, and you say every man's going to have a house, every man's going to have a car and a radio and all the stuff that goes in that house, he's promised you the world. You got my vote. No, you don't. You don't have my vote, but you might have some people's vote in here. You know what I mean? Now, Father Coughlin, like I said, had a huge radio following. He's a radio priest. He turned on FDR, didn't feel like he was doing enough for the poor. And then this guy, Dr. Francis Townend, he came up with an interesting idea. He said, listen, what we're going to do is we give all the old people in this country $200 a month. The catch is they got to spend it. They can spend it on housing, food, medicine, whatever. But you got to spend it. If whatever you have left over, you can give away or spend it on whatever you want. So all the old people in the country are taken care of, and it stimulates the economy. It's an interesting idea. We're going to try something else tomorrow called Social Security. Now, the Supreme Court is going to, like we said, it's going to strike down the National Recovery Act, which was the fascism I talked about yesterday, and other laws is unconstitutional. So I got a little treat for you. We're going to watch Huey Long. Now, I want you to listen to these words, okay? Listen to him talk.
According to the table which we have assembled, it is our estimate that 4% of the American people own 85% of the wealth of America, and that over 70% of the people of America don't own enough to pay the debts that they owe. How many men ever went to barbecue? And will this one man take off the table what's intended for 9/10 of the people to eat? The only way you'll ever be able to feed the balance of the people is to make that man come back and bring back some of that grub he ain't got no business with. Now, how are you going to feed the balance of the people? What's Morgan and Baruch and Rockefeller and Mellon going to do with all that grub? They can't eat. They can't wear the clothes. They can't live in the house. Give them a yacht. Give them a paddock. Send them to Reno and give them a new wife when they want it. That's what you want. But when they've got everything on the God's living earth that they can eat and they can wear and they can live in, and all that their children can live in and wear and eat and all their children's children can use, then we got to call Mr. Morgan and Mr. Mellon and Mr. Rockefeller back and say, come back here. Put that stuff back on this table here that you took away from there. You don't need. Leave something else for the American people to consume. And that's the problem. We're not going to destroy the Gulf Refining Company. We're not going to destroy the Standard Oil Company. But we're going to say that the limit of any one man's stock ownership in the Standard Oil Company is from $3 to $5 million for that individual, and that the balance of the people of America own the balance of what the Standard Oil Company is worth. All right. Then we start from the bottom. That the 25 or more million American families shall have a homestead, a home, and the comforts of a home, including an automobile and a radio, the things it takes in that house to live on. We say to America, 125 million, none shall be too big, none shall be too poor, none shall work too much, none shall be idle. No luxurious mansions empty, none walking the streets, none in poverty, none in pestilence, none in want, but in the land blessed by the smile of the Creator, with everything to be consumed, to be eaten, to be worn, and America will become a land bearing the fruits of the land, not for the favored few, not to satisfy greed, but that all may live in a land in which the Lord has provided an abundance sufficient for the luxury and convenience of the people in general. That's it.
So, there you have it. Roosevelt didn't go that far. Okay? But that's where Huey Long wanted to take us. All right? Tomorrow, I'm going to start with my favorite. You guys watch Food Channel? Food Network? That's what we watch on TV at my house a lot. Beat Bobby Flay, Chopped, some shows. These television chefs. There was one named Justin Wilson. It's called The Cajun Chef. And he had a show on TV for many years. And I'm going to show you a little clip of Justin Wilson, who's at Coonab's. Okay. All right.